Men don't worship a woman because of her looks, her body, or how nice she is. They worship one rare inner trait that Carl Jung spent his entire life trying to describe. When you understand this single psychological key, you stop chasing men and start pulling out a level of devotion most women will never experience. In this video, I'm going to show you Jung's secret behind that trait, how to embody it, and how it changes the way a man sees you forever. When we say worship, a lot of people think of obsession, pedestalizing, or a man losing himself in a woman. That's not what we are talking about here. Healthy worship is a deep, reverent admiration. It's when a man feels something almost sacred about you. He doesn't just want you, he honors you. He feels fortunate to be near you, challenged by you, inspired by you, and accountable to the standard that your presence sets. Carl Jung, one of the founding fathers of depth psychology, spent his life trying to understand why some people carry a kind of magnetic, almost spiritual presence. He believed that we don't just see other people as they are, we see them through the lens of our inner world, our unconscious, our archetypes. So when a man worships a woman, Jung would say this, he's not only responding to her personality or appearance, he is responding to the archetypal energy she awakens in him, the inner image of the feminine, the anima, his own soul image of what femininity truly is. Now, here is the core idea of this whole video. The one trait that makes a man worship you is radical self-possession, being rooted in yourself, psychologically whole enough that you don't abandon who you are for his approval. Self-possession doesn't mean you're cold, distant, or unapproachable. It means you belong to yourself first. You are not anxiously orbiting around him, his messages, his moods, his choices. You have a center, your values, your boundaries, your desires, your life, and you do not trade that center for temporary security, attention, or validation. Jung called the journey to this inner solidity individuation, the process of becoming a whole, undivided person. Most people never complete this process. They remain split, needy, driven by unconscious wounds and fears, constantly seeking wholeness in someone else. What happens when a woman is not self-possessed? She makes a man the center of her emotional universe. She starts self-editing, people-pleasing, overgiving, shrinking, or overperforming just to be chosen. On the surface, she might look loving or devoted, but beneath that, she is abandoning herself. Jung would say she is not a whole person here. She is becoming a persona for the man, a mask she wears to be accepted. And men feel this. They may not have the words for it, but they sense when a woman is not firmly rooted in herself. She feels light, easy to move, easy to influence, easy to lose respect for. He might enjoy her, use her, even like her, but worship? No. A man worships what he cannot control and what he cannot fully consume. He worships what stands on its own feet. Imagine two women on a date with the same man. The first woman, let's call her Emily, is beautiful, charming, and eager to please. The moment he shows interest, she begins to subtly rearrange herself. She laughs a little too hard at his jokes, agrees with everything he says, quickly adapts her preferences to match his. When he pulls back, she chases with longer texts, over-explaining, apologizing for things that aren't her fault, trying to win him back. The second woman, we'll call her Claire, is also warm, open, and kind. But there's a difference. She's not trying to be chosen. She's evaluating just as much as he is. She listens, she shares her views honestly, and if something doesn't sit right with her, she doesn't bury it. She says, I see that differently, calmly, and without drama. When he pulls back, she doesn't panic. She feels the sting, she's human, but she checks in with herself. Does his behavior align with what I want and deserve? If it doesn't, she steps back too. She doesn't send the desperate, long messages. She doesn't beg for clarity. She doesn't chase. These two women can look similar on the outside, but energetically, psychologically, they are worlds apart. Emily has abandoned her center. Claire is rooted in herself. She is self-possessed. Now here's where Jung's perspective becomes powerful. A self-possessed woman constellates something archetypal in a man. She becomes, in his psyche, not just a girl he's talking to, but an image of the queen, the wise woman, the self, a figure that demands respect and devotion. He feels it in his body. Around her, he wants to stand taller, speak more truthfully, be more honorable. Not because she's manipulating him, but because who she is silently demands that. This is the seed of worship. It has almost nothing to do with tactics like, wait exactly 3 hours to text back, use this one line to make him chase, act disinterested so he wants you more. Those are fear-based games. They come from insecurity, not self-possession. The real magnetism is this: you are deeply at home in yourself. You know your worth, independent of his choice. You like yourself. You respect yourself. You will not betray yourself to be liked. Jung would say, this is a woman who has met her own depths. She is in relationship with her unconscious, her shadow, her wounds, her desires. She doesn't need a man to define her, because she is already on a path of inner wholeness. And paradoxically, that is exactly what makes a man lean in, commit, and, yes, worship. In the next segment, we'll go deeper into Jung's actual psychology, anima-animus projection, so you can understand why this one trait of self-possession pulls such deep devotion out of a man and why its absence makes him quietly lose respect no matter what else you do. To understand why self-possession is so powerful, we need a quick tour through Carl Jung's view of the human psyche. Jung believed that your mind is not just what you think consciously. There is a huge underworld beneath your awareness, the unconscious, filled with forgotten memories, instincts, wounds, and universal patterns called archetypes. One of Jung's most famous ideas is the anima and animus. In a man, the anima is his inner feminine image, the way he unconsciously imagines woman. In a woman, the animus is her inner masculine, the way she imagines man. We don't just meet people, we project these inner images onto them. So when a man meets you, he is not seeing only you. He is also seeing his anima, his inner picture of the feminine, shining through you. If his inner feminine is wounded, abandoning, chaotic, or critical, he may feel pulled to women who embody that energy, even if it hurts him. If his inner feminine is more healed, wise, and loving, he will feel drawn to women who mirror that. Here's where your trait comes in. A self-possessed woman is very different from a woman whose world revolves around male attention. Psychologically, she carries an energy of wholeness and maturity. Jung talked about certain figures who carry mana, a kind of spiritual or psychic power that people sense without being able to explain it. Self-possession generates this kind of mana. You feel like something more than just a charming surface. You feel substantial. To a man, this is enormously attractive on a deep level. His anima, the archetype of the feminine in his psyche, recognizes in you a fuller, richer expression of what womanhood can be. Not a girl begging to be picked, not a mother figure smothering him, not a fantasy doll acting out his every wish, but a whole person with her own destiny. This is what calls out worship, not just attraction. Worship is the response we have to something we experience as greater than our everyday ego. You're not above him as a human being, but your presence reminds him of something larger, his own potential, his conscience, his longing for meaning, his need to grow. In Jungian terms, a self-possessed woman is closer to herself, the deeper center of the psyche that goes beyond ego. The more you live from this center, the more you radiate an authenticity and groundedness that is very rare. And we feel rarity. This is why you can see conventionally average women who have men absolutely devoted to them, while objectively stunning women get treated as disposable. It's about inner reality, not just outer appearance. But let's be extremely clear. Self-possession is not arrogance, coldness, playing hard to get, acting like you don't care about anyone. Those are defenses. They often come from the opposite of self-possession, fear and fragile self-worth. Self-possession is quiet. It is the woman who can say, I really like you, and I'm not going to chase you. I want a serious relationship. If that's not what you're looking for, that's okay, but I'm going to step away. I'm hurt by what you did, and for me, that crosses a boundary, so I'm going to take space or end this. She's vulnerable and firm, soft and solid. Jung would say she is not living only from her persona, the mask we wear to please society. She has met parts of her shadow, the rejected, unloved parts of herself, and integrated them. That means she knows she can be needy, so she doesn't pretend to be low maintenance to impress him. She knows she can be angry, so she doesn't swallow all her feelings until she explodes. She knows she can fear abandonment, so she doesn't make him responsible for calming all her fears. Instead, she owns these parts. She holds them with awareness. She gets support, she works on herself, she does her inner work. And when a man meets a woman who is doing this, consciously or not, he feels something. This woman is real. I cannot play with her. I must step up around her. Here's another Jungian concept, projection and withdrawal of projection. In early attraction, we project ideal images onto each other. She's perfect. He's my soulmate. No one has ever understood me like this. Over time, reality shows up. You see their flaws. You see your own triggers. Most relationships collapse here because people don't know how to move from projection to real relationship. A self-possessed woman does something different. She allows the projection to fade. She sees him as human. She demands to be seen as human. And she stays rooted in who she is, rather than collapsing into fear or fantasy. This steadiness, this capacity to be with reality, is what allows worship to mature. He doesn't just worship his fantasy of you. He admires the real you, who is brave enough to stay herself through conflict, disappointment, and growth. Now, you might be wondering, okay, I get it in theory. But what does this look like in everyday dating and relationships? What do self-possessed women actually do differently? In the next segment, we are going to ground all of this in concrete behaviors, words, and decisions, so you can feel exactly how a self-possessed woman moves through dating, and why that makes a man naturally rise into devotion instead of drifting into disrespect. Let's bring this down from Jungian theory into real-world behavior. If self-possession is the one trait that makes a man worship you, what does it actually look like in the way you talk, text, and respond? We'll break it into a few pillars. You have a clear inner center. You can say no without collapsing in guilt. You're comfortable with space and aloneness. You express desire without pressure. You can love deeply without losing yourself. 1. A clear inner center. A self-possessed woman knows what she values in relationship. Respect, honesty, consistency, emotional availability, commitment. Whatever her list is, she's clear. She's also clear on what is a deal breaker. Mixed signals for months, hot and cold behavior, disappearing acts, disrespectful talk, chronic avoidance of commitment. Because she has this inner map, she doesn't need men to define reality for her. If a man says, "I'm just really bad at texting," but she sees him constantly online, constantly active, but never reaching out, she doesn't get stuck in his story. She returns to her center. I value effort and communication. This isn't matching that. She doesn't get lost in, but maybe if I'm more understanding, more patient, more low maintenance, she asks a better question. Does this align with the kind of relationship I'm creating for myself? Men feel this. They might test boundaries unconsciously, showing up late, being vague, seeing how much you'll tolerate. When your sense of what is acceptable doesn't move just because you're afraid to lose them, that's self-possession. 2. Saying no without collapsing. Jung emphasized the importance of holding opposites, being able to feel two things at once. A self-possessed woman can feel love and still say no. I care about you, and I won't continue this if you're seeing other people. I enjoy your company, and I need reliability, so I can't keep rescheduling for last-minute plans. I really like you, and I am not going to have sex before we re-exclusive, before I feel emotionally safe. Notice the structure. She uses I language, she states her boundary, she stays calm and firm, she doesn't threaten, attack, or beg. This is deeply disarming to a man's defenses. He feels the weight of a real person in front of him, not a desperate girl hoping to be rescued. And here's what Jung would add. By saying no when it matters, you're respecting your own self, your deeper center. Every time you betray your own boundary to keep a man, you lose a little piece of that self. Over time, you feel hollow, resentful, and he loses respect. Worship cannot exist without respect. And respect cannot exist without boundaries. 3. Comfort with space and aloneness. Self-possession is impossible if you cannot be alone. That's harsh, but it's true. If being single, being without his reply, or being in a quiet apartment on a Friday night makes you feel like you're disappearing, you will inevitably contort yourself to avoid that feeling. You'll overgive, overpursue, and overattach. Jung saw loneliness as a doorway to the unconscious. When you can sit with yourself, you start to meet who you really are. You hear your own voice. You feel your own feelings, not just the emotions you pick up from others. A self-possessed woman is not afraid of space. She might not always like it, but she can tolerate it. He doesn't text for a day. She notices, she feels, she waits. If it becomes a pattern, she addresses it or lets it go. He says he's not ready for commitment. She doesn't argue with him. She believes him. She moves on. Her life is full enough that no man is the entire meaning of her existence. She has friends, passions, work, creativity, maybe spirituality, a relationship with herself and the world. That fullness is intoxicating to a man. He feels that you are with him because you choose to be, not because you have no life without him. Devotion flows more easily when he senses that you are not trapped. 4. Expressing desire without pressure. There's a stereotype that self-possessed women are aloof, emotionless, or hyper-independent. That's not what we are aiming for. The polarity that creates worship is, you are fully capable of being alone, and you openly choose him. Jung talked about the importance of integration, not rejecting one side for the other, but holding both. So, a self-possessed woman can say, I really enjoy spending time with you. I feel safe with you in a way I don't usually feel. I'm starting to fall for you. But here's the key, she doesn't attach demands to that. She does not follow it with, so you have to change, so you owe me this, so please don't hurt me. Instead, she lets her word stand, and then she watches his actions. If his actions move closer, she receives. If his actions pull away, she doesn't beg, she recalibrates. Okay, this man cannot or will not meet me where I am. To a man, this combination, vulnerability plus non-attachment, is breathtaking. He hears your truth, feels your heart, and also feels the quiet strength behind it. This is the woman he wants to pursue, to claim, to protect, to commit to, not because she demands it, but because her presence awakens his healthiest masculinity. 5. Loving without losing yourself. Finally, self-possession shows in how you handle intimacy and conflict. When you love fully. You invest, you show up, you care. But you never give up your voice, values, vision for your life. If he wants you to accept things that violate your standards, secretiveness, inconsistency, disrespect, you don't stay just because you're attached. You grieve, and you go. This is one of the clearest lines between a woman a man uses and a woman a man worships. He knows. With her, I can't just do whatever I want and keep her. If I want her, I have to be the kind of man who deserves her. Jung would say that this woman is calling him toward his own individuation, his own wholeness. He can stay a boy, or he can rise into a man. In the next segment, we are going to look deeper at the archetypal dimension of this. We'll talk about Jung's idea of the inner goddess, the queen archetype, and the feminine mystery, and we'll name the specific behaviors that instantly kill worship, even if you have every other advantage. Underneath everyday dating, there's an older, deeper story running, the story of the archetypes. Jung discovered that across cultures and times, humans tell similar stories with similar characters. The king and queen, the hero and his lady, the wise old woman, the temptress, the mother, the goddess. These are not just myths out there. They live inside us as patterns, blueprints for how we relate, desire, and grow. When a man meets a self-possessed woman, it often awakens the queen archetype in his psyche. The queen is not the girl begging to be invited to the palace. She is the palace. She is the center of her own realm, her values, her home, her body, her time, her energy. She doesn't chase the king. She receives those who come with respect, and she banishes those who come with disrespect. A man might enjoy a night with a playful, chaotic energy, the wild party girl archetype. He might feel comfort with a purely mothering archetype that overfunctions and takes care of everything for him. But he worships the queen. Why? Because the queen demands the king in him. Not the boy, not the player, not the lost wanderer, the man who can lead himself, make commitments, and stand in his own integrity. This is the deeper psychological effect of your self-possession. You're not just raising your standards in a rational way. You are activating a different story in his unconscious. She is not just another woman. She is an other, a whole being. I cannot absorb her into my ego. I must relate to her as an equal, as a thou. Now, let's talk about mystery, because this is often misunderstood. Mystery is not manipulation. It's not waiting hours to respond to make him anxious. It's not telling half-truths. It's not constantly confusing him so he chases clarity. Mystery, in the Jungian sense, is depth. It's the fact that you have an inner world he cannot fully map or control. A self-possessed woman is mysterious because she has a life beyond him. She has inner practices, reflections, and dreams he isn't always part of. She can feel deeply without collapsing. She can disagree without drama. He senses that there is more to her than what is immediately visible. Over years, he continues discovering new layers in her. This is what sustains worship over time. So what kills this? Let's name some worship killers clearly. Worship killer number 1. Becoming his mother. If your self-worth is tied to being needed, you may slide into a mothering role, reminding him of everything, fixing his problems, making excuses for his lack of effort, carrying the emotional labor of the relationship. In Jungian terms, you shift from queen to mother. Instead of relating as two adults, you unconsciously recreate a parent-child dynamic. A child does not worship its mother. It depends on her, rebels against her, resents her, and eventually pushes away from her. Similarly, when you overfunction for a man, he may feel comfortable, but he will not feel deep devotion. He doesn't have to rise. Worship killer number 2, becoming his mirror, not his equal. If you're afraid he'll leave if you disagree, you may mirror him completely. You adopt his opinions, you take up his hobbies, you edit your personality, you avoid conflict at all costs. You become an echo, not a person. Jung insisted that true relationship requires 2 distinct individuals. If you flatten yourself to avoid friction, there is no longer a real you for him to meet. He may think, she's easygoing, but his deeper psyche knows, this is not a queen, this is an extension of me. There is nothing other here to worship. Worship killer number 3, over-disclosure too fast. Vulnerability is powerful, but timing matters. If in the first weeks you trauma dump your entire life story, share all your deepest wounds and fears, make him the main emotional support in your life, you collapse the mystery in an unhealthy way. Jung talked about the need for a protective boundary around the inner self. You are not meant to expose the deepest layers of your soul to someone who has not yet earned that trust and commitment. When you do, a few things can happen. He feels overwhelmed and responsible for your healing. He unconsciously loses respect because you gave too much, too soon. The relationship bonds through pain, not through shared values and gradual intimacy. Healthy mystery means you reveal yourself in stages that match the level of commitment and safety. Not out of fear, but out of self-respect. Worship killer number 4, manipulative testing. If you test him constantly, disappearing to see if he chases, flirting with others to make him jealous, creating drama to see if he fights for you, you damage trust. Jung believed that the soul craves wholeness and truth. Manipulation splits you inside. You're no longer aligned with your own values. Over time, that inner split is felt by the other person. A man may respond to your games in the short term, but devotion is impossible without trust. Worship is not just excitement, it's reverence. And no one reveres what deceives them. So, what's the alternative? The alternative is to let your self-possession be your primary strategy. You don't manipulate because you don't need to. You speak and act from your center, and you let the right men be drawn to that. In the final segment, we are going to get very practical. How do you become this self-possessed woman? What are specific Jung-inspired practices and steps you can take to develop this inner trait, so you're not just pretending to be confident, but actually rooted in yourself at a deep psychological level? You can't fake self-possession for long. A man might fall for a performance temporarily, but your true relationship with yourself will always leak through. So let's talk about how to actually grow this trait in a real, grounded way. We'll use a Jungian lens, but keep it very practical. Think of this as a roadmap. 1. Name your new identity. 2. Work with your shadow, where you abandon yourself. 3. Practice boundaries in small, real ways. 4. Build an inner relationship, active imagination. 5. Anchor self-possession in daily rituals. 1. Name your new identity. Jung believed that what we consciously identify with shapes our path. So start by giving this trait a name for yourself. It could be, I am the woman who never abandons herself. I am the queen of my own life. I belong to myself first. Write your sentence. Say it out loud. Put it on your mirror, your phone background, your journal. When you're with a man and you feel anxiety rising, fear he'll leave, fear he'll be upset, quietly repeat your sentence inside, I am the woman who never abandons herself. This simple move shifts your reference point from what does he think of me to what do I think of me right now. You come back to your center. 2. Work with your shadow. Where do you self-betray? Your shadow is everything about you that you've pushed away. Your neediness, your anger, your jealousy, your fear of being alone. If you don't bring these into awareness, they will run your relationships from behind the scenes. Take a journal and write at the top, where do I betray myself in relationships? Then, without editing, write, times you stayed when you knew you should have left, times you said yes when you wanted to say no, times you pretended to be okay with something that cut you inside, times you chased someone who was clearly not choosing you. This might be painful. That's okay. Jung said there is no coming to consciousness without pain. You're not doing this to blame yourself, but to see patterns clearly. Then, for each example, ask, what was I afraid would happen if I honored myself here? Answers might be, he would leave, I would be alone, he would think I'm difficult, I would lose comfort and familiarity. These fears are the places your self-possession collapses. They are the exact spots where worship dies and self-abandonment begins. Gently, compassionately, you start working with these fears, maybe with a therapist or coach, maybe through deeper inner work, maybe through slow experiments in behaving differently. 3. Practice boundaries in small, real ways. Self-possession is built rep by rep, like a muscle. You don't start with, "I'm going to leave my 10-year relationship tomorrow." You start with small acts of truth. Examples: saying, "I can't talk right now, I'll call you later," when you're tired. Saying, "I'm not comfortable joking about that," when someone crosses a line. Saying, "I actually don't agree," in a low-stakes conversation. Each time you do this, your nervous system might panic. "He'll be mad. They'll reject me. I'm too much." Breathe. Place a hand on your chest or stomach. Tell yourself, "I am safe to be myself. I can survive disapproval." Jung would say you are withdrawing your energy from the false self, the persona, and giving it back to your real self. In romantic situations, practice not responding instantly just to calm your anxiety, not over-explaining when you set a boundary, not sending a follow-up text if he hasn't replied. Instead, you sit with your discomfort and let it transform you. This is inner work in real time. 4. Build an inner relationship, active imagination. One of Jung's most powerful tools is active imagination, entering into dialogue with parts of your psyche as if they were real figures. You can use this to build an inner support system, so you rely less on external male validation. Try this. Sit quietly, close your eyes. Imagine a version of you who is fully self-possessed, your inner queen, your future self. See how she sits, how she speaks, how she looks at the world. Then ask her, "What do you want me to know about this relationship? How would you respond to this man's behavior? What are you no longer willing to tolerate?" Wait and see what arises. You can also imagine your inner masculine, your animus, as a strong, protective presence in your psyche. You ask him, "How can you protect me emotionally? How can you help me set this boundary? How can I feel supported even when no man is texting or calling me?" Write whatever comes as if you're receiving a letter from this inner figure. This might sound strange, but Jung used these methods himself. You're not going crazy. You're rebuilding an inner relationship so you're not dependent on being chosen by a man to feel safe and held. 5. Anchor self-possession with daily rituals. Finally, make self-possession part of your daily life, not just your love life. Some ideas: morning check-in. Ask, "What do I need today to feel rooted in myself?" It might be rest, a walk, a difficult conversation, or time alone. Body awareness. Throughout the day, check where your body feels tight. Often, when we abandon ourselves, our bodies contract. Breathe into those places and ask, "What am I ignoring right now?" Evening reflection. Ask, "Where did I honor myself today? Where did I abandon myself?" Celebrate every moment of alignment, no matter how small. Over weeks and months, something powerful happens. Your nervous system recalibrates, your standards become natural, your presence changes. Men feel it. Some men will fall away, the ones who were attracted to your old patterns. Others will step up or step in, men who recognize, consciously or unconsciously, the queen, the self-possessed woman. And here is the paradox at the heart of Jung's insight. The more you become whole in yourself, the less you need a man to worship you, and therefore the more capable he becomes of real worship. Because now, you're not using his attention to fill a hole in your soul, you're not manipulating him to soothe your wounds, you're not twisting yourself into what you think he wants. You are you, rooted, real, radiant. And that, more than any trick, tactic, or game, is what draws out the deepest devotion from the right man. A man who is on his own journey to wholeness and recognizes a true partner, not a project, standing before him. You didn't just learn how to make a man worship you. You learn how to become the kind of woman who naturally evokes worship, because she has already learned to honor and worship her own inner self. We've covered a lot, from Jung's ideas of the anima and archetypes, to the queen energy, to the concrete habits of a self-possessed woman. If you remember just one thing, let it be this: the one trait that makes a man worship you is radical self-possession, never abandoning yourself for his attention, approval, or love. When you live from that place, the wrong men fall away, and the right man doesn't just want you, he honors you. If this video helped you see yourself or your relationships differently, hit like so more women can find it. and subscribe if you want more content on depth psychology, feminine energy, and real, healthy love. Tell me in the comments, what is one pattern of self-abandonment you're ready to let go of? And what is one new standard you're choosing for yourself from today on?